welcome you all to today's WIGI-pedia. And as you know, WIGI-pedia is our educational series and today's topic is mentoring the next generation, and I should say maybe even the former generation. Many of you know me, my name is Kay McMahon, and I'm the current president of Women in the Golf Industry, affectionately known as we call it WIGI. We are thrilled to have you all here today. And again, like I said, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat at the end, and we will definitely answer the questions or have a Q&A at the end. I want to mention also that one of our perks is our member spotlight. So many of you, we're going to ask you to fill the form out. And after we finish today, if you want to stay on the call, Shannon Wisney will help you fill out the form because we need more information to send out to for our member spotlight. So we want to spotlight all of our members. So please stay on or fill out the form, which is also a link on our website, to please fill that out. And we'd love to spotlight you on our social media. So please make sure that you do that. But let me start by saying, again, today is mentoring the next generation and maybe even the former generation. But I'd like to introduce our esteemed panel for today's discussion. And it's a power-packed panel with loads of experience. We have Debbie Waitkus, who's also on our WIGI board, and she's been on that board for quite a while. She's the founder and president of Golf for Cause. She's also the co-founder of the president of Golf It Forward, which involves the Marilyn Smith Scholarship Foundation, which provides scholarships for young aspiring women in golf. And they are called the Pearls, after Marilyn's affection for wearing pearls. And that's part of the reason that we wanted to do the mentorship, is that we're really in association with that organization to provide mentorship, and we've started our own mentorship program. So we'll be having forms to fill out so that we can connect women with other women and mentorship both in all kinds of different directions and have access to a lot of individuals. All right, with that also being said, Debbie was also named this is really kind of neat, one of Golf Inc.'s most influential women in 2024. So we want to say congratulations, Debbie. Very nice honor. All right, moving right along, we have Cindy Jones, who's a financial advisor there she is, for Edward Jones. She's a certified financial planner, CPA, and she's also on the board of directors for Golf It Forward, but she also serves as the chairperson for the Pearls Committee, which is, again, the inspiration for doing this mentorship, and we really want to promote that a lot. She's been a regional recruiting leader for Houston area's what's called WINGS, Women's Initiative for New Growth Strategies, which offers tools for mentorship, resources, and coaching designed to strengthen and advance female career trajectories. Also joining us today is Kat Finley Welch. She's on our board of directors for WIGI, but she was the previous director, and this is a mouthful, of the Signature Sanctuary Certification Audubon International. She is an entrepreneur and also serves on the eduKaytion Golf Advisory Board, and is the mother of Poppy, who is now all of 2, and Poppy is now on our board of directors also. So with all of that said, we're going to get started on mentorship. And again, thank you all for being here. It's a great panel. Mentorship. So what I'd like to open it up with our panelists, and I'll start probably with Debbie, and just give us a little brief thing of what your idea of what mentorship really means to you, or what the value of mentorship really is, the definition of mentorship. And I can talk a little bit when I was doing a little research about this. The word mentorship, according to not WIGI-pedia, but according, what is it called? WIGI. Well,
Webster?
Anyway, they call it, instead of mentorship, they call it women, supporting women, or mentorship for women. They call it femtor, Femtor. So it could be our new word instead of mentorship is femtor. But anyways, Debbie, if you'd started off telling us what you think mentorship really means to you and the definition of mentorship.
Sure. I think I've had a lot of people ask me, who has been a mentor to me. And when we did the prep for this call, I was explaining that I have a speech coach. His name is Joel Weldon, and I can share my screen if I get the permission to do that. And Joel always said that you have at least 10,000 mentors, because we glean things from everyone, whether it's something that I would like to aspire to do myself, if there's someone that I could hitch my star to their coattails, so to speak, to learn, or have them help me ask questions. I can ask questions, or maybe it's even, and this was especially true when I was a new mom, and I'm like checking things out and how to do specific things. And it's like, ooh, I would never do that with my kid, right? May work for them, doesn't work for me. But I think we learn a lot from each other on what does work, or it might work for Kay, it's not going to work for me, and I applaud her for that. But there might be a different way that I could do that. So that's a little bit more informal. But I will tell you that I've had a couple of situations. Oh, I can share now. Thank you. I'm going to share my screen real quick. And if this is a form, we have permission from Joel to use this. And this is obviously in the speaking world, if you will, where it's something you can apply to your life and your role, as far as whatever it might be, whether it's in a personal, professional, working in a charitable situation, for working on your skill sets. So you can message me, or Pam, I can share this with you, and you can somehow work your magic to share it with everybody later afterwards, or make it a resource. We have permission to use this. So I hope it's helpful. It was always helpful to me when I would sit down and listen to someone speak, and I just had a little chart what I enjoyed. If I liked the person, I didn't like the person, because it's all something that I can now take away for myself. But again, this is something that I think is a little bit more, that's a more informal approach, but it's a way to be a life learner. I did have a situation with something at a personal level in my synagogue, where my cantor dragged me aside and said, "Would you like to participate in this?" And I was singing in the choir, but he wanted me to do something else. And he's a young guy. At that point, he was probably in his early to mid 30s. And so that's young to me. Sorry for those of you who are younger. And so I showed up, and I'm like, "Okay, so where's the rest of the choir?" And he's like, "Oh, no. It's just you and I, and we're going to do this." And I was like, "Okay, no, I can sing on my own in the shower, but I need a group around me." He goes, "No, you can do this. Trust me." And I ended up going to a singing coach and everything. But he became my mentor. And a mentor can be someone that's who's younger than you are. It's not always someone who's older with gray hair like Kay and myself. So you never know where that person is going to come from, but you just need to be open to it. If there's a path that you kind of think, well, maybe I could try this, right? And that person can encourage and gently help you along the way with some of the tough things as well. So anyhow, I'll pause and
I'll save you. I'll save you here. Okay, two things. The gray hair just means I have a lot of experience. That's all.
Absolutely.
Okay, but I think I'm going to go back to what you're really alluding to, is that you never know when the connection's going to happen. And it could be very minimal, so someone can be a mentor for just a little bit, or then it can turn into a lifelong experience. So mentorship is just you just keep making connections and keeping your kind of open to accepting information. But
yes,
so,
and you don't know, and people are mentoring you, and they don't even know they're mentoring you as well. So
correct. Yeah. All right. So we'll talk about exactly what mentorship really means. So where's Cindy? Cindy, would you like to? Yeah, you can unmute yourself, please.
There we go.
What does mentorship mean to you, and how's it influenced your life?
Oh my gosh, I've had so many mentors at different levels, professional, like Debbie had mentioned, and personal. But what Debbie alluded to, I think, is, the opportunity to leverage mentors along with your networking, right? By putting yourself out there and giving yourself the opportunity to meet different people, you you might run across somebody like Debbie had mentioned that you would never have thought you would want or need a mentor in that area. So I think the wider you cast your net, the more opportunities you come across people that are subject matter experts. And even if you don't need that mentorship in that particular area at that time, kind of put that in the back of your mind, and then you can kind of connect that with your networking opportunities. So I think mentorship is very valuable to always keep your eye out for an opportunity to mentor as well as being mentored.
That's great. So Kat, you're still muted. Oh, or did we lose her?
No, I'm here. Sorry, I hit the wrong
That's
button.
right. Okay, we got you.
So
What does mentorship mean to you? You're a little bit younger set because you don't have any gray hair yet. So
well, I do. I just
Yet.
dye it. But so I have always thought of mentorship as like, if you're the president, like who's in your cabinet, right? Like who do you bounce ideas off of? Who can lend a hand? And also eventually it comes back around. But I have found so far that it took a number of years before I could return some of the favors that have been, I wouldn't say given, but assisted with through my early part of my career. And really it comes down to, I think every facet of your life, you have mentors. I think when it's a personal one, relationship, you call it a friend. When you become a work colleague, mentors really, it's a low barrier, a low wall between yourself and your mentors. I found you do have to be a little bit more vulnerable at times. And I think Debbie alluded to that, through the choir. Well, yeah. And I think it starts like mentorship relationships probably start as young as your parents. Your parents are your mentor early on, And then I think as you grow in your work career, it becomes your boss, potentially becomes a mentor, then you gain additional networks that maybe aren't a direct work relationship, but they're your advisors and the ones that give you a little extra push and are also a sounding board for feedback. So that's what mentorship means to me right now. And I think it continues to evolve as you get further in your career, both in school and work.
It's kind of interesting. I'm going back to a little bit what you said, is that you were mentored and you felt like you've really been helped by other people, but now you wanted to be on this panel and you actually volunteered to be on the committee, which I love volunteers on committees, by the way.
Yeah.
But why is it important for you to want to give back now? Why do you want to be so involved? What do you think is important as being a mentee or mentor?
I remember how scary it was when, you hear your friends talking about, well, this mentor and that mentor. And I'm like, do I have mentors? And how do you find one? Because I worked in a smaller organization that my boss was my mentor, but it seemed like people had these large groups and networks to pull from and bounce ideas off of. So they're kind of bringing it back and returning the favor is easily accessible mentors, because it is hard to acknowledge that, okay, maybe I don't know, or maybe I need to learn more, and like, where do I start? And, validated resources that can provide good advice. So for me, the interest is making sure that the resource is known and available to be accessed, because it's scary to go find it, and maybe isn't all that easy either. So that's where my part comes in this, or where I am interested in that.
Well, I think you bring up a very good point, because I think as mentees or people just starting out or whatever, they're afraid to, how do you find a mentor? How do you reach out and ask for help? And I think a lot of people are afraid to even just call up somebody and ask for information, or they're afraid, the fear factor. I see Cindy shaking her head, so pipe in on that one, because I think that one of the main questions is, I really want to encourage young people, or even at any age, to reach out and ask for help or advice. It's not help, I shouldn't say help, it's more advice of where to go. And really, I think as a mentor, you want to be an active listener. But go ahead, Cindy, you had something to say on that.
Oh, I totally agree. I think, as a mentor, especially in a networking situation, is to engage those that are potential mentees, because it is intimidating for them. I mean, the reason they need a mentor is they're not either comfortable or familiar with the area that they would like some, a sounding board to, or a new area or new endeavor that they're starting, right? So it's a bit intimidating to be the new person, the less experienced person in the room. I was very blessed that, like, from the very beginning, my first career was in public accounting. And talk about gray hair, that was back when there was the Big 8 instead of the Big 4. So that was years ago. But because of the structure of the organization, and we had like start groups, and then there was tiers, you went from a new hire to a senior to a manager to a partner, a principal and then partner. They established a mentoring program because your mentor in that organization was your advocate. We were scheduled on different jobs. So, you didn't have one boss, you had 50 bosses. And everybody got rated on their engagement, right? So if you were on a job with this client, that manager or partner rated you. So you needed a mentor to speak up for you when they were reviewing people, because not everybody in the firm might even know you. So it started that whole mentorship. So because I had a mentor when I started, and then I became a mentor. And then so that was part of our development at that job. But because I grew up in that environment, I am not as intimidated to ask for help or seek out a mentor. So I think the easier that we make that for people to ask, and sometimes we offer, right? Just by listening, like Debbie said, and like Kat said, is you listen and you're like, oh, well, maybe, would you like to have coffee? Do you have questions? Is there something I can help you with? Or here's my number, you can always call me.
I think you make a good point. That it's about listening. It's not always about giving advice. It's sometimes that people just need to talk and say, this is where I am, and just say, well, you could look at it this way. Debbie, go ahead, please.
So I think I worked for a company. It was a private lending organization. And when I went through the interview process, the gentleman who owned the company, he had me meet with all of basically his management team individually, whether we went to lunch, we went to breakfast or whatnot. And I looked at it as part of the interview process. They looked at it as though he wanted their confirmation that I was okay, but he'd already made his decision. So the rubber stamp, but I didn't know that. But what I found was that once I got into the company, that I kind of knew who I had my best rapport with, which of those people. And it reminded me a little bit of being on a team, because I played collegiate soccer. And so for the Pearls who are here, and you're new and you're with a team, the coach is kind of like the official mentor, if you will, but there are girls on the team who are a little bit more senior, who've been around the block, who know, how is it that I'm supposed to go talk to my teachers and talk with them about missing a class or doing the makeup test, or just even silly things like that. But because there was someone who knew the ropes that I didn't know, we had to do our own fundraising. So what's the protocol? What's been done before? I had others to go to when I was the freshman to ask. So when you're new, and I think most of us are, we're businesswomen, so we have a little bit of courage, or maybe a lot of courage. We're not shrinking violets, if you will. So who is that person that you connect with the most, that you feel like you could have a candid conversation? It happened for me within the WIGI environment as well, where I was working on a project, I had an idea. And so I picked out a few women and said, hey, has this been done before? Or is this new? Or maybe is this time for this? And who should I speak with? And who should I avoid? And what I learned from what was tried before. But I reached out to women that I felt like I had a strong enough connection that we could have a conversation, and a respectful conversation, so I could learn from them and basically they became my mentors, if you will, within that structure. But especially as a student athlete, beyond the coach, because sometimes it's intimidating with the coach, but if it's someone who's been there, a sophomore, a junior, a senior, someone who's been around the block, and maybe not necessarily even just on the golf team as well, but another student athlete, to learn the learn the ropes a little bit.
It's kind of interesting because we keep talking about reaching out and doing this. Anytime that I will ask all three of you that you reached out to anybody, were you ever turned down? Never.
Oh no, I was absolutely cold shoulder, which meant that they were too busy, or just we didn't connect right.
But it was kind of, so you didn't connect right. So you were kind of turned down, but did they listen to you or not listen to you?
I've had both.
You're talking about in a company though, right?
In a company situation, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Where's Kat? Okay, or Cindy or Kat, any comments on that? I mean, I don't think I've ever been turned down. I think most people really want to be able to give you help if they whatever. But I think part of it too is if you're in a company, you've kind of got that community or that network already there. I think maybe for some of the pearls, if they haven't been in a company, how do you find that network? How do you reach out to that person? Where do you find those people?
Yeah, I have not been turned down, but I'm still fairly early in my career. I do also think that sometimes mentorships evolve without the formal conversation of, will you be my mentor? And it starts kind of through an email thread. Hey, it was wonderful to meet you at the networking event. I'm going to be in Florida in your area, in June or whatever. I'd love to grab a coffee. And then, at that point, the check-ins maybe are both ways, or maybe you're carrying the load for the first front and then it comes around. So I think that the initial exchanges, I think like anything, we all have a lot of emails in our inbox. Sometimes things get lost. So it takes a couple check-ins, maybe to rekindle if you've met the person at a networking event. But in general, I think you pursue multiple people and eventually people will say yes if you've gotten a couple no's, and you just keep pushing forward and value your time and value your mentor's time too.
I think you make a great point that you just don't have to make it a formal invitation, like to say, do you want to start dating? Yeah, Debbie, go ahead.
So if you take this into the golf space, I will tell you that through Golf for Cause, we ran a golf mentorship program. We called it 9 and Wine. And the people who came most of them had never held a club before. And we gave them an on-course experience. And so many of the people who came because someone else invited them. And sometimes it's too hard to ask for yourself, but we're always looking for that invitation. At the time, way back when the LPGA Amateur Network was the Executive Women's Golf Association, they came out with a formal mentorship program that was a one-on-one match. So there are formal programs that exist. In our chapter, I signed up to be a mentor, and we had one person who requested that wanted a mentor to be the mentee, and we already knew each other, but I think sometimes that, depending on structure, it can be a little bit uncomfortable and intimidating to actually throw your name in the hat and say, I want a mentor. It's like we want to be invited or feel that safe connection first that you were talking about, Kay, where it's more of a warm lead or a warm opportunity than something cold and blind. Does that make sense?
Definitely. Yeah. Cindy, you have anything to add you want on that?
I totally agree. And that's why we are trying with the Pearls Mentorship Program and trying to develop that, is to have more meet and greets where it's more informal and you're getting to know each other, and you can find that person that you have that connection with. And because people are going to gravitate, somebody has somebody in common, or they're they're in the same city and they didn't realize it. Then they can, we kind of foster those connections. We did the same thing with our Wings program with Edward Jones. Most of the advisors in the financial world are men. very few women. And so we decided that, it wasn't even going to work within our regions. There was like 5 regions in the city of Houston. We really needed to cast that net out for the whole city, because I might not connect with any ladies in my region, but I might have a great connection with somebody that's 100 miles away on the other side of Houston. So we started having events together, and the mentorship program really took off after that, because we kind of let everybody decide who they connected with better. And we really started that program because the failure rate for female advisors is very high. And it's because
Really?
our needs and our challenges are different than our male counterparts.
Interesting. There's a question in the chat, and if Sandra, if you're okay, if you can ask this, because I'm not quite sure what you mean by this, Sandra. Reference to connecting, and we keep using this word connecting. Is that the way you request mentorship? So can you explain your question to me?
Well, I think it has been, hi to everybody first, I'm Sandra Reed. I think it's been answered in these last couple of conversations, and I think it makes sense. This is like 9 and wine, and you meet several people and you sit in different tables, or you share putting or chipping with different people. And then the need, the conversation, the interaction might be created, and there you kind of create a friendship that turns into a mentorship, versus kind of keeping your eye on somebody and say, I really would like to shadow that person because I feel I could really grow a lot or accomplish a lot more in my own goals by learning from this person.
Well, I think that's valuable, because, and that's why I kind of go back to, the qualities of what a mentor or a mentee even means. Being a mentee sometimes is just keeping your eyes and ears opening and being an active listener and going, now what do they really say? Is that something that I can relate to? I became an author, but it was because I sat at a little workshop long time ago in Long Beach, and just sat at a little coffee house, and this woman sat next to me, and I didn't think she was a golfer, but she was. And then 2 months later, she calls me up and she said, would you like to help write my next edition of my book? And I'm like, really? And that's because I just happened to sit next to her and had a cup of coffee or a little breakfast with her, and it just kind of opens up the door. So it's starting initial conversations and just, I think, reaching out, because we use the word connecting all the time, but it's basically opening yourself up, being an active listener on both.
Well, I think you're going to have to find, you have to find the need and the want. I mean, if somebody has a lot more of something and the other ones are trying to reach up to that level, and some are not interested, and others are saying, I really want to do that because that's my weakest link, and I think I need to develop that more to move on to the next stage. So I think that might play a part.
Deborah says, find the need, the want, and get over the fear, basically, is what it is. Sandra, what do you do? Tell everyone what you do.
I founded a company called Golf Americas. I am half Latina myself, and I find that the Caribbean, Central America, and Mexico have fantastic places to go play golf. And I like to develop tailor-made packages where people can go golf, but also have an experience of the destination that they can go back home with.
Okay, the next one in the chat, Deborah, would you like to share what you wrote in the chat?
Sure, it's a tag along to what Sandra said with respect to identifying the need and the want, but you also have to identify the fear. What is it that you're afraid of? And not necessarily getting over the fear, because that obviously we're always trying to do that, but you do have to identify what the fear is, because then that's what you can address and what you can tackle. So
I think you make a great point about identifying what you don't know is a fear. We don't know what's in the darkness, and so that's why we fear it. So and then saying, I don't know something about this, and asking even somebody that, just asking for information about something that you're very unsure of. And I think a lot of times it's hard to reach out and do that. I'm just going to bring up another question. What do you think are the best qualities in a mentor?
I think it's someone who can listen and hear what it is that you're saying. I think it's also someone who can help you identify, we'll go back to that word of connections. I know when I worked in WIGI with membership in concert, because I wore the treasurer's hat for way too many years. But when someone would become a member, I would reach out to say, hey, give me a little bit more information about who you are and why you've joined and what you're looking for, so that I could then connect that person with, well, you might want to reach out to Eloise, you might want to reach out to Kay, and here's their information. Just being in that role to then, so if you can have someone who can help make the introductions, and someone who really hears what it is that you're saying, I think is value. And of course, you want that person to have some sort of credibility, perceived credibility.
So, Kat, what do you think are the best qualities of a mentor for you?
So I've been rolling it over here, and I think someone that has the time, like we keep speaking about listening and experience, and those are all, I think, very valid in mentors. But you really also, if you're looking for the one-on-one mentor to really progress through your life and your career as an advisor, like identifying someone that's willing to either give the time or has the time to give, to help and give advice. And you can identify that, following your gut in a networking setting. Like, let's say you're in an open room. My previous role was with working with developers of golf courses and architects and owners to ensure sustainable design of golf courses. And so essentially we were a third party that could benefit or help them, but they could build a project with or without us. So you really could quickly identify someone who was willing to give the time to do it the right way, and then also give the time in your career to help you grow. And maybe you can't identify it in the immediate setting, but with those interchanges or exchanges rather via email. And when I speak about connecting, it can be a touch point of like, hey, I saw this article in Golf Inc. and shoot it over. And at least the person knows you've thought of them, and they're going to take the time, hopefully, to reciprocate if they think of you. And so I really think a lot of it comes down to time, and people that are well into their careers are typically pretty maxed with their day-to-day schedules. So finding someone who has the time and is willing to give the time to be an advisor is crucial.
Somehow, I definitely agree with you about the time, and I'm well into my career, but I will always find the time, believe it or not. What I'd like to do is open it up to a couple of our girls who are nicely on here, and to say, I'm going to get to you, Mara, that she's smiling at me. What are you looking for? What would be helpful to you?
I think, the best people that I've talked to have been people who are approachable, definitely. I think, like recently, I emailed Tom Doak, a golf course architect. I played his course at Stream Song Blue, and I loved it, and I wanted to tell him how much I loved it, but also I know that he's someone who I think has a lot of consistency of thought, and somebody who, is open to teaching and to giving advice to people who want to follow in those footsteps. And so I emailed him, and he gave me some great advice. And, he was at Cornell and kind of made his own path for his career. And that's kind of what I'm trying to navigate right now. So I thought he would be a great person to get in contact with. And I was right. He copied his associate. So I've been emailing with his associate, Angela Moser. And she's been giving me great advice too. So just reaching out is a great thing.
I know what you do, what you're doing. Would you like to tell everybody else what you're doing though?
Well, I want to be a golf course architect, and I know it's probably going to be a difficult path of getting there. I think, I asked Tom in the email, what should I do as my major? And because I know he kind of did some turf management stuff and then landscape architecture, but I'm going to be on the golf team in college. So I think it's going to be, I expressed to him that I think it's going to be hard to, do both. And he thinks I'm right. He asked, Ben Crenshaw checked on it for him, and he said when he was at Texas, it would have been impossible. Reaching out has been, I've acquired a vast networking system over the years. I travel a lot for golf, and there's a lot of people that are willing to help me. And I've been very fortunate to have those people. And especially someone like Jan Beljan, who I am here because of. She gifted me the membership in the summer. So they're all over.
I think you're right. You're right. People are very willing to help and want to help. Let me hear from a couple of the other pros. Okay. What are you looking for in a mentor?
Oh, goodness. I am coming at this from a little different space. I left my long-term executive role in higher education about a year ago, and I recognize the value of women networking on the golf course, particularly women in leadership, women in executive positions. I experienced what it was like to be left out, and picked up golf in 2020 during the pandemic, and recognized that I didn't want to have peers at my level as women to play with, and the guys would play, and I would not be in a position to grow and learn with them. And I joined the LPGA Amateurs Association in my area, and it was great, but I also wanted to be in a space where I would network more with women who were either in my field or adjacent to or complementary, so that we can sharpen iron and grow. So a year ago, I made a decision to walk away from my longtime career and truly focus on building opportunities for women in leadership to network on the golf course and take care of their health. I am a health educator, so the whole fitness side of it is a no-brainer for me. It's more about really tapping into this new world of golf with women, for women, and being able to leverage the connections that I've been making and create a space for women to feel comfortable, who even, women I've talked to are VPs of companies are like, golf, oh my gosh. I'm like, are you kidding me? You've got to do it. It's awesome. And they're like, oh, I'm great at my job, but I can't do it. And want to be able to create that environment where it's okay. We're all on the same playing field in terms of being great professionals, and we can all grow and learn and build relationships together. So that's how I come at this. So the mentorship I'm looking for is really learning from women who are already out there doing it on the, the side of golf, and how I can bridge that connection to those women I'm connected to who are wanting to network more.
What's kind of interesting you say all that, because WIGI is about women, connecting women in the golf industry. And golf does tend to be our common denominator, two common denominators, golf and women. And so with strong aspects, we got a lot. I'm hopefully pronouncing your name correctly, Sayaka?
Yep. Hi there.
Hi there. What are you looking for in mentorship?
Yeah, so I am currently a golf coach, and I got the position of director at my club, and I don't really have any other coaches to watch, and I'm so fortunate that I got my position, but I also still want mentorship, and I still want to learn. And so just people who are willing to kind of like share their experiences, share like their approaches and the way they think. I can Google drills and I can find all these things, but like, okay, what is your approach, and how do you bring how do you get people motivated into creating changes? And I think I would love to diversify my understanding of that. And so people who are willing to share that.
If I could jump in a second, are you Sayada Carpenter?
Yep.
Hi. We've been emailing back and forth.
I also need to make a connection with her too that I should have done 4 months ago. So it's about following up on all that. So I knew I needed to bring you in the conversation just to say it's a time management issue is what it is. So that's good.
The summer's been crazy.
It's all right. So I know Jamie wanted to share a couple thoughts too. Jamie?
Anyways, great to be here, and great conversation. For those who don't know me, I'm a LPGA pro and a founding member of the Golf It Forward board along with Debbie and Cindy, and it's so great to see the pearls here. That's so exciting. And as I'm listening, I'm thinking, well, I also come from a martial arts background, which I want to share that just a little bit in terms of, a mentor. So I'm, hearing these words like, and thinking what's the difference, between a teacher, a tutor, a coach, an advisor, and a mentor. Because, there's a lot of things in common there. And as I'm thinking about a mentor, a couple things. I think of a small M and a big M, capital M mentor. So, and I would distinguish a little bit. But the mentor definitely seems like it's a one-to-one kind of relationship. It's there's something really individual and a lot of personal investment on both sides in the relationship, and that it's clearly learning from someone. From the martial arts sensei, the word sensei means teacher in Japanese, but it's about one who's gone before. So I think that's kind of what we're talking about. What can we learn from those who've come before us, and where there's that individual connection and creating that relationship where there's a lot of investment in the mentee's growth. Yeah. So anyways, just some things to think about. And then I was thinking about a mentor with a capital M, which I feel like I've had maybe two in my life. I've had a lot of great teachers and small M mentors who I'm extremely grateful for. But the big M seems to me, it has something in the small M, and it's about wisdom. That there's it's like a wise woman, a wise man, who there's just so much wisdom there to share, as well as knowledge. And that my experience with that kind of mentor has been really challenging me, like right at my own cutting edge, being able to just see, and you can see through to the mentee, and what's their cutting edge, and with wisdom, love, guidance, be able to kind of, help the mentee along the way there. So anyways, just some things to think about. I think it's just such a wonderful conversation, and the connection. Yeah.
It's the word of the day is connection, but I'm going to kind of say something else is about helping the person embrace the uncomfortable is a nice way of saying it. And it can be a two-way street. So it doesn't always have to be younger to older. It can be older to younger or whatever. So I wanted just a couple thoughts from one of my mentors is Pat Baldwin. You've made many connections in your life, and I'm a great editor-in-chief and making women connections with women. Just a few of your thoughts, and you're still on mute, Pat.
I've been listening to all the conversations, and back when, which is when, that was me back when, there wasn't really anything formalized. And I'm not even sure I put the words to it, but yes, asking questions, that was my thing. So always asking questions and trying to get the information and looking for the opportunities and moving ahead.
Great point. Just keep asking the questions and looking for the opportunities, and the more questions you ask, you get more information. Good. And that's how we met. Anyways, we'll go back to
I know, I'm finding people like Kay McMahon to help you along.
I found you to help me along. So
and that's the point. That's sometimes the point is a relationship that is mutually helpful.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that I want to bring home is that it's a mutual relationship. It's not just mentor and mentee. It's a mutual relationship of how we can help each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Peggy, I know you've been around the fairways a few times. The few of your thoughts?
I love all the conversation. I feel like, and when I think of the mentors that I've had in my life on different things, is they always help bring out the best in me when I didn't know how to do it. I think that was something, and it all was listening, hearing, talking, and maybe giving their ideas and how I could assimilate them into mine. But I always felt like the real ones were the ones that helped bring the best out of me in my thoughts, getting whatever I wanted to do.
A great point, right to the point. That was perfect. You're absolutely right. And I think that's what it's all about. this is kind of getting to be a little bit of a getting to know you call, but anyone else on our board that would, that's all right, like to say anything?
Well, I just wanted to say, can you hear me now? Basically, I've been doing all my travels overseas, and the one thing I've learned is that it kind of like what you guys were saying, but you need to be vocal about what you're looking for, because the person you meet and you might connect with might not be the person that can help you. But as Mara was saying, it was Tom Doak's associates or Angela Moser that was helping out. But unless you say what you're kind of looking at, no one's going to know. Because I had the coffee in a coffee shop today. Turns out they know somebody that I know that's connecting me to somebody else. So that can then lead you to the right mentorship. So, but you just need to be, you just know in a coffee shop and anywhere else you can be that you're gonna, there's always an opportunity.
This is terrific. These calls always turn out to be so informational. Any other thoughts? I think anyone else? Any final thoughts from our panel? One final thought that you'd like to change the mentorship program, and then I want people to stay on. If you'd like to, please, Shannon's going to stay on and help you fill out your member profile. We need member profiles of all you members so we can put them in spotlight. So please stay on and she'll help you. But okay, Debbie, your final thought.
Kay has charged me or twisted my arm enough that I am heading up the mentorship committee for women in the golf industry. And along with Cindy and Emily, who was on the call earlier, on the Golf It Forward side with our Pearl community, we are developing our mentorship community there as well. And I've had some outreach with Troon to be involved in create a program with them as well. And so we're kind of like at our infancy, if you will. Well, maybe not infancy, but maybe we're toddlers at this point. But if you have ideas or would like to contribute or serve on the committee, I can't even tell you what a time commitment might be because we need to create that. But in order to move forward, would love to have help. If you know someone who you think would be of value to participate, please let me know. Reach out to myself and or to Kay, and we'll move forward. One of the things that we did, it started a few years ago with one of the Pearls who was also a founding director who is now cycled off our board, Michelle Bateman. She was kind of like my go-to girl for when people would contact me and say, I'm thinking about going to college and playing golf, and what am I looking at, right? And I would reach out to Michelle and say, are you willing to call this person and kind of talk her off the ledge and give her some insight? She's like, absolutely, I'm all over it. So it's a matter of finding out what are those types of needs that we have and who are the right people to that, as Kat had said, who have the time, who have the patience to be able to help get us in the right direction, if you will. So I welcome your participation, or at least your ideas, so that we can make this even better.
No, that's great. And I do want to say that, yes, we're looking for mentors and who want to just be that. So contact Debbie. Debbie, if you put your information in the chat, that would be great, so that people can contact myself. The other thing is that any Pearl that's on here, you get a free call from me if you want to call me and call me directly. This is on my time. It doesn't cost you anything except for mobile charges or text. So it was kind of our fun way of talking about that. This is your prize for the day, is you get a voice message from me on your cell phone, like wait, don't tell me. Anybody else? Kat, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I think we covered mentorship well, but I do think it's worth stressing how important networking is, like building your network and going and becoming comfortable in a room full of people you don't know, and just gaining that confidence. It goes back to the fear of not knowing anyone and having to go up to someone and get to know them in a short window, right? But those people, that's how you'll also find mentors too. And I think the structured program is going to be wonderful. And I think as your career develops, as you go down the line, you'll be in those networking scenarios. So getting comfortable in those settings will be hugely influential career-wise, and eventually finding mentors, I think, as your career progresses.
Cindy, final thought? That's great.
Yeah, I think it was a great discussion. And like anything else, in your career, you build your craft, right? And you build your skills. So it's just an opportunity to practice, to get comfortable with reaching out to people, right? So if you can be in an environment where you're comfortable, then I think that just gives you the confidence to be able to do that in an environment where you're not as comfortable or where you don't know anybody in the room. And commitment on both sides, mentor, mentee, very important. Because even on the mentee side, they've got to commit to do the things to develop and progress.
And thank you all, and thank the panelists. Your thoughts are great. So thank you.